Hello, and welcome to Watershed Moments. I'm Rhonda Pendell Charles, Alderwoman, Ward 3, City of Annapolis, Maryland. And we have a very special guest with us today, Mr. John Korin, who is president of Bike AAA. And we're going to talk about cycling and some other things. But first, we're going to start with the John Korin story.
One of my favorite stories. Well, let's see, I was born in New York. I was born in Manhattan, and I was raised mostly in suburbs of New York, Westchester County, Rockland County, a third suburb, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. That's another story. Then we moved back to New York, but I've been in Maryland now for 30 years or so.
Okay. Well, tell us a little bit about your early years in New York and Manhattan.
Well, let's see, I was only born in Manhattan. I never actually lived in the city until after college.
Okay.
But growing up, I do remember, sort of my earliest memories are in Poughkeepsie, New York.
Okay.
Yeah, my dad was with IBM, and we were in Poughkeepsie, and we moved around quite a good bit.
Okay, well, good. Tell us some of your jaunts around.
Well, let's see. One of the early things I do remember, and I don't know if I remember this because it actually happened or because I've seen pictures or what, but I do remember sitting on a tricycle, waiting for my dad to come home from work. And that's probably my earliest bicycle memory.
All right, all right. Now, your mom or your siblings, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, my dad, IBM. My mom had a career in the school system.
Oh, was she a teacher?
She taught, and she also did a career education program.
Oh, wonderful.
In Rockland County, New York. I have a brother and a sister. I'm the oldest of the three.
All right.
My brother lives in Connecticut. He's got 4 kids. My sister is in the film business and out in Los Angeles. She's the creative one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anything memorable that we know about?
She's done a lot of interesting things where she's played a role. There was a TV show called Brooklyn Bridge that she was involved in. Groundhog Day. She did the titles to the movie Groundhog Day.
Wow. Well, tell us about elementary school.
Elementary school was in New Rochelle, New York. Some people have heard of New Rochelle, New York, because that's where the Dick Van Dyke
show.
Yeah, in fact, there really was a Bonnie Meadow Lane.
Oh, really?
I used to walk past or bike past Bonnie Meadow Lane on my way to school every day. So yeah, that's where the Dick Van Dyke. You remember?
Yes.
That?
Oh, absolutely. That's what I was going to ask you
Yeah.
next. Now, did they do any filming there, or?
No. I think the reason they selected that, I think Carl Reiner, the producer of this show, lived in that area at one time.
Okay. All right.
But yeah.
Okay. So, how did you make out in elementary school?
Well, elementary school mostly did pretty well. I do remember one visit to the principal's office. Yeah, snowball fight gone bad.
And your mom and dad weren't very happy.
No, they were not happy. They were not happy.
But I guess you improved when you got to middle school.
I did better. Actually, my family then moved down to Florida, to Fort Lauderdale. I went to junior high school in Fort Lauderdale. So 3 years there, which was fantastic. Learned how to fish there, just everything outside. And then my dad got transferred back north, and we moved back up to Rockland County.
Okay. Any hobbies or school activities you were involved in?
Certainly involved in a lot of sports. I was involved in Key Club and Honor Society. I have great memories and still pretty close with some of my high school friends.
Oh, wonderful. Do you have reunions?
We do. Every year in October. It used to be the weekend that the clocks changed. Of course, they changed that, but we kept it to the 4th Saturday of October. About 11 of us from high school and college, we get together for a weekend.
Neat. So what are some of the things you do?
We do the same thing every year. Back to Groundhog Day.
Okay.
Every year we eat in the same restaurant. We play blackjack a little bit that evening. That's the only time I step in a casino every year. We play golf and tennis. We play poker. And we eat breakfast in the same little place down the road.
Okay, now where is that located?
It's near Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Okay,
yeah.
wow.
It's about equidistant. A few of the guys are in the D.C. area. Some are in New York. Some scattered. We have one that comes from London every now and then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
It's a tight group.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
It's good to keep in touch with your classmates.
It sure
wow.
is.
So high school was in Florida?
High school was back up in New York,
Okay.
near Spring Valley, New York.
Okay, so how far is that from New Rochelle?
It's just across the Tappan Zee Bridge, maybe 20 miles from New Rochelle.
Okay. So you had to make new friends?
New friends, yeah, all new friends, but again, I've stayed pretty close with some of them, and a few of them we went to college together.
Oh, great.
And in fact, I just came back from my 40th college reunion.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that was up in Philadelphia, University of Pennsylvania. Also, really tight-knit group. We had about 20 of us that still stay in touch. All got together for dinner, and
Are they bikers as well?
a few of them are, not too many. But I've been working on them.
And you didn't bike up there?
No, I did not bike up to Philly. Although I tell you, it's great to see how bike-friendly Philadelphia has become.
Oh, wow.
They have bike share up there. There's bike lanes every place.
Okay. Now, your college days. Tell us a little bit about that. What you were interested in? What did you do?
I'll tell you, the big choice for me about college was engineering or business. I applied to a bunch of engineering schools, and then at the end, and I applied to one business school, and at the end I said, I'm going business. And that's how I ended up at Penn. And I feel like I got a phenomenal education. I had a great time, formed wonderful friendships, still have a soft spot for cheesesteaks and pretzels with mustard on them, and yeah,
a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So, college 4 years, and moved on.
College
to
4 years, then I got a job back up in New York. So
Okay.
that's when I first lived in Manhattan. So I lived and worked in and around Manhattan for 8 years or so.
So what did you do
after
there?
college? I worked for a company which at the time was called a time-sharing company, information technology time-sharing. Today we would call it cloud services.
Oh,
But it was no different from cloud services, really. It's just that we didn't have an internet back then. And so, yeah, my whole career has been in the information technology industry.
Okay, so 8 years there, and met some other folks there?
8 years there. I went to graduate school at
Okay.
night there at NYU.
Oh,
And then this was a big change in my life. I know you like to talk about watershed moments. I think one of my important watershed moments was taking a job in Maryland. And that's when it was time to make a big decision, pack up the family, and in 1984, we moved down to Maryland.
okay, all
And,
right.
and I've been here ever since.
Now, many of us aren't real familiar with Manhattan, although we know a lot about it and we see it on television. Tell us a little bit about Manhattan. It seems exciting.
It is exciting. I mean, it's hustle bustle, it's fast paced, it's got a little bit of everything. It's not inexpensive to live there. I lived in the village, Greenwich Village, which is, kind of a cool area. I worked up in Midtown, sort of up in, you might think of near the Broadway area for a few years. I worked down in Wall Street for 5 years or so. And yeah, I always like to say I loved living there. I loved working there. And I still love to go back and visit, but for me now, it's a great place to be from.
So you wouldn't move back at
No,
this
but
point?
others, my roommate, my college roommate, he got a job in New York also. He and I shared an apartment there. He stayed.
Oh, okay.
He stayed and he raised his family. He still lives in Greenwich Village.
Now, how often do you visit?
I get up there probably once a year or so. I have some family in the area, so
Okay.
that gets me up there. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
well, good,
I love to
good.
go back and visit.
Wonderful. Now, you've moved to Maryland at
1984, yeah.
Okay. Tell us your first thoughts about Maryland. Had you been here basically to stay a while before?
I can remember as a kid coming down, family trip to visit Washington, D.C., and I think a school trip to Washington, D.C., but this was really, I felt, my first real experience in Maryland, out in the suburbs of Washington.
Okay.
And I found it to be a fantastic place to live and to raise a family.
Okay.
We lived in Olney, Maryland,
Yes, in
over in
Montgomery
Montgomery
County,
County, yeah, for many, many years before coming to Anne Arundel.
Now, tell us a little bit about the differences.
Oh, wow. Let's see, where to begin? Well, I guess one thing, let's start with something in common.
Okay.
Water. Manhattan's an island. There's water everywhere. Fort Lauderdale is on the beach, water. And of course, here we have the Chesapeake Bay and the Severn River. So there's something in common. There's something I love about all three places.
Okay. Give us a little difference.
Oh, difference. I mean, in Manhattan, you have just the hustle, bustle, and how crowded, and everything is built up instead of out. In Fort Lauderdale, back then for us, it was a lot about the beach. And then here in Maryland, for me, it's all about outdoor activities of all kinds: biking, boating, hiking, etc. And I found Maryland to have just a little bit of everything, especially as you go across the state.
That's true.
We've got mountains out west, good climbing on bikes. We've got Eastern Shore, nice and flat, great place to bike, and just everything in between.
Yes. Okay. Now, only 1984, and where were you working then?
I was working for Lockheed Martin. Well, at the time, it was called Martin Marietta.
Okay.
So I took a job there and at their headquarters in Bethesda. And I was going to be sometimes working in Bethesda, sometimes in Greenbelt. And so Olney, sort of 20 minutes to either place. That's how we landed in Olney, Maryland.
And so when you decided to come this way, was there anyone who really pushed you or encouraged you, or was there any sort of encouragement at that point to come to Maryland?
I would say where I would get my guidance, I think about my mom and dad, and probably not unusual, and probably I'm the same way now. My dad would give the practical and the pragmatic view. My mom would give, sort of the softer side. And so my dad, I'd be talking about move to Maryland from a career move perspective. With my mom, family, how's it going to be for family and things like that. And it turned out to be a great move. And now I feel so attached to Maryland.
All right. Now, Martin Marietta, how long were you there?
Let's see. Martin Marietta, I was there for about 5 years. Then I went to a small startup company.
Okay. What were you doing at Martin Marietta?
At Martin Marietta, I was doing strategic planning and mergers and acquisitions. So I was sort of on the business side in their IT business.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, common thread in my career is IT industry.
Okay. And then you moved on.
Then I moved on to a startup and worked there for a couple of years, and then went to another company, a government IT contractor called PRC. That company was acquired by Litton.
Oh, okay.
In fact, at the time that I went to work there, it was owned by Black & Decker.
Oh, okay.
And
name.
yeah, Black & Decker, just outside of Baltimore. But Black & Decker didn't really want to be in that business, and so part of my job was getting that business sold.
Oh.
It was purchased by Litton. Litton was later acquired by Northrop Grumman, and I ended up staying and worked at Northrop Grumman until I retired.
Oh, okay. All right. You've had a very good career, and you retired in?
I retired 4 years ago. I retired in 2012.
Okay. All right. And I know you haven't been sitting around all this time.
I have not been sitting around. So let's see. In 2011 is when we moved here to Anne Arundel County. And some people ask why. Why? Funny you should ask. So we looked, as the kids got older and out of the house, we started thinking, my wife and Kathy and I started thinking about where do we want to land. And we looked up and down the mid-Atlantic. Now, I'm from New York. Kathy's from Alabama.
Wow.
Now, she always said, I wouldn't mind moving a little further south, but there's a line somewhere in this country, south of which they have cockroaches or palmetto bugs and alligators, and I am not living south of that line. I grew up with those, and so we went to Charleston, and we loved Charleston, but we saw gators and palmetto bugs, so we came further north. Seriously, though, we did look up and down the mid-Atlantic. We looked west, we looked to the mountains, and then we settled on the Annapolis area. We just loved it. We decided to be a little closer to where we were, but closer to water. And so 2011, we moved here to Severna Park, and we had biked on the B&A trail. Occasionally from Olney, we throw our bikes on the back of the car, drive to BWI Airport, bike down the B&A trail into Annapolis, have a crab cake sandwich for lunch, bike back up, drive back to Olney. So we sort of knew the B&A trail, but we had never ventured off it in either direction.
Okay.
Fast forward to today.
Now, let's stop a moment. How did you and Kathy meet?
Kathy and I met at work.
Oh.
Yeah, we actually met at work.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good.
Yeah.
Good. Which job was this?
This was at PRC.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
All right. Now you're on the B&A Trail.
B&A Trail, yeah. So we used to bike the B&A Trail, and now, fast forward to today, I live about a quarter mile from the B&A Trail.
Okay.
And I tell people, and this is the honest truth, one of the reasons we picked the house that we picked is proximity to that trail.
Wow, wow, wonderful. Now tell us a little bit about what you've been doing since 2012,
Well, yeah.
when you retired.
So in 2012, when I retired, I went looking for a leadership Anne Arundel program. I didn't know that one would exist, but I was familiar with the Leadership Montgomery program. And being new to the county and just on the brink of retiring, I was looking for a way to learn my new county and find a way to plug in and find a place that I could give back to the community. So I retired in August of 2012. In September, started Leadership Anne Arundel.
Wow.
And I biked to the opening retreat. The opening retreat, which is 2 days at William Peka House.
Oh, okay.
I biked there. I think
Right
I
in
was
the
the
city.
oldest one in the class. Yeah, right on Prince George Street. And I think the youngest one, who lived over near Eastport, she biked. So there were 2 bikes leaning against the fence while we had our Leadership Anne Arundel opening retreat. And one of the things you do during that program, and by the way, I advise that program for anybody in the county that's wanting to learn more and become more effective in community service. I just cannot say enough. I've remained very, very attached.
Yes. Griff Hall
to that
and Eric Edstrom have done fantastic
They have
work with
done
that
awesome,
program.
awesome work. I've made so many great relationships and continue to make new relationships through that. But you have to take on a project during the 10-month or so process, and 6 of us took a project called, how are we going to make this place more bike friendly? We did not know what we were going to do. We just knew that was the topic of our project. Now, a lot of these projects, they have a start and an end. You start something, you do the project, and it's over. We went out, being a strategic planner, first thing we're going to do, due diligence. We're going to go out and talk to people and find out what's already going on for safe cycling in the county, and where's a gap that we could fill. First one we talked to was somebody here at the city of Annapolis, and then we talked to people at the county, we talked to people at the state, bike shop owners, people on the trail, and what we found was there was no bicycle advocacy group here in Anne Arundel. Howard County had one, Montgomery, Washington, Baltimore, Frederick, even Salisbury, nothing here in Anne Arundel. So we said, there's a gap, we can fill that gap. And in the spring of 2013, we incorporated, we applied for 501c3, which we got later that year, and off and running. So Bike AAA, which is the short name for Bicycle Advocates for Annapolis and Anne Arundel County, but that's a mouthful. So Bike AAA is a lot easier to remember.
Right.
Is the name that we go by.
Okay. Well, tell us some more about what you've been doing with Bike AAA.
So Bike AAA has a mission to promote safe cycling for transportation, recreation, and fitness. Now, we selected those words very, very specifically. Those are 3 very different reasons to ride, 3 different types of riders, dressed differently, different types of bikes. So you have transportation rider. For many people in our county, a bicycle is the only affordable means that they have to get to work or to school or to shopping. We want to make it safe for transportation riders. Recreation. Let's take the kids out and go for a ride on the weekend. Short ride, we'll ride to the ice cream shop or what have you. We want to make it safe for recreation riders. Fitness riders. These are the riders who say, hey, let's go out and ride 80 miles tomorrow morning. They go down to South County and ride in groups with bike clubs and so forth. We want to make it Anne Arundel County safe for all of those types of cyclists, which all ages, from 3 years old or so. I just bought bicycles for my 3-year-old grand twins.
Oh.
These new bicycles called Striders or balance bikes. They have no pedals and no training wheels. The kids just learn to ride by sort of gliding along.
Oh,
that's the new way. I bet you learned on training wheels.
Absolutely.
And I'll bet you can remember your first bicycle.
Yes, I can.
Tell me about your first bicycle.
My first bicycle was a small blue bicycle that my parents bought for me, and I learned how to ride. I guess I was about 6. My dad and mom were going to teach me, but the next door neighbor boy, who was about 12, was the one who taught me. And we were living on Bowie Avenue in Annapolis at that time, and I definitely remember. But also after that, I got a green bicycle from Sears on my 9th birthday, and I still have that bicycle. Had to get a few new tires a couple of years ago, but that bicycle is in great shape. I haven't ridden it because I've been on the city council. I haven't had a lot of time, but I still have that bicycle, and people marvel when I ride by. So, oh yes, I think we all remember our first bicycles.
Everyone has a memory
Yes.
of their first bicycle.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's really something special about a bicycle. And one of the things I love about biking is when you get on a bike, it makes you feel like a kid again.
Yes,
You
it
get
does.
or I like to think of it with the wind in your face. It makes you as happy as a dog hanging its head out the car window.
Great analogy.
I'm going to come over and I'm going to ride with you. With you on your green bicycle.
Okay, it's a deal.
Okay.
It's a deal.
All right.
But anyway, last year there was a launch of the advisory committee for the county. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's right. So when you think about the things that we can do to try to make for more safe cycling in the county, there are certain things that Bike AAA can do and is actively doing. One is education. We can teach children and adults safe riding techniques. In fact, we have a partnership with Bike Maryland, the state advocacy group, and the county school system, where this year, in our very first year of the program, 5,000 elementary school children in 26 schools across the county are getting bike safety instruction and a bike rodeo, all at no cost to the county. So education is one. Encouragement, trying to encourage people to ride more. So an important thing we do is bicycling events. So for example, on Friday was Bike to Work Day.
And what date was that?
Friday, May 20th was Bike to Work Day. Mayor Panelides biked that day, County Executive Shue, and dozens of others biked that. So events that encourage people to ride. But one of the most important things is having safe places to ride. Trails, bike lanes, or what are called protected lanes. And for that, we really rely on government. We cannot do that ourselves. We've got to work with our partners in government. And so County Executive Shue announced last August, and he made the announcement right on the B&A Trail.
Yes, I
near
remember.
Jones Station Road.
I was there.
You were there.
Yes,
yeah.
I was.
And it was a great event, and lots of cyclists there, and he announced the formation of the Anne Arundel County Bicycle Advisory Commission, and I was proud to be selected to chair that group. We launched in November with 11 citizen members who are from all over the county. We very carefully selected from a pool of folks that applied to make sure we had representation from all over the geography of Anne Arundel County. And then we had representatives from the city of Annapolis, the county, SHA, State Highway Administration, and others, because when I rode here today.
Yes.
From my house in Severna Park. When I ride here, first I'm on a county road, county public works. Then I'm on a county trail, county rec and parks. Then I'm on a state road, 450, coming over the Academy Bridge, which, by the way, there is no more beautiful way to enter the city of Annapolis than on a bicycle seat coming over the Naval Academy Bridge. Some might argue that coming in by boat is prettier. I would argue you've got a better panoramic view from the top of that bridge.
How about if you're on your bike on the boat?
A bike and a boat. I love taking pictures, sometimes cruising around by boat. I see boats that are moored out there with bicycles on the back, because a lot of people who live on their boats or travel by boat hop off the boat and jump on the bike and off they go. But back to the commission. So the commission's role is to advise the county and the city on implementing their bicycle master plans. Both have excellent bicycle master plans. The city of Annapolis has a master plan that was updated in 2011. Excellent document. The county has one that was updated in 2013. Excellent document, prioritize where the most important places are. But getting that implemented is what we need to do more of. Not enough has actually been implemented, and so our role is to advise and recommend and advocate for more of that getting implemented.
So what are some of the things you've done to do that?
We are making good progress. One of the things we've done is try to promote the use of grants. There are a lot of grant sources. This doesn't all have to be funded by city or county money. There are grant sources for bicycle trails and bicycle lanes. In many cases, a developer can be required and really has an incentive to build bicycle infrastructure. In fact, there's a ribbon cutting next week on June 1st for an extension to the WB&A Trail, which goes from Odenton down to the Patuxent River. And the new trail extension, about 1.5 miles, and it's beautiful. I've been on it before I was allowed to be on it. Shh, don't tell.
I won't.
A beautiful trail that was paid for by the developers, and now County Rec and Parks will take it over.
Wonderful.
So it's one of the things we've done is set priorities, try to find funding sources, and promoting more safe places to ride.
So where do you see the bike advocates and community in the next 5 years?
I think we're going to start to see progress on more safe places to ride. We've made great progress in the 3 years in education and events and encouragement and just building bike culture, I think. One of the interesting things is when there are more people biking, the roads actually become safer for everyone. If you go to places, well, in Washington, D.C., you see bikes everywhere.
Oh, yes.
Bike share, it's the most successful bike share program in the country. As drivers and pedestrians and cyclists get used to traveling with one another, everyone slows down, everyone's a little more respectful of one another, and provided everyone follows the rules, everyone becomes safer.
Good. Wonderful. Any words of encouragement or wisdom to our viewing audience about bikes or anything else you would like to talk about?
I would. I mean, what's the big deal about biking? Why is it so important? Tell me a way that you can improve your health, improve the environment, air and water quality, reduce traffic, reduce the need for parking, save some money, and if none of that, improve our economy and make it a more attractive place to live, work, and visit. And if none of that works for you, it'll put a smile on your face. When's the last time you saw an angry person on a bicycle?
Can't remember.
It doesn't.
They don't exist.
It will improve your disposition. So, yeah, come on out and learn more at bikeaaa.org. That's BIKEAAA.org. You'll find information about events that are coming up, safety programs, and there's also a link there to the Bike Commission, the bike plans. You'll find a wealth of information about biking at bikeaaa.org. There's a cliche, you never forget how to ride. They say it's like riding a bike. Once you've learned, you never forget. Well, it's true. And if you're not sure it's true, try it out. Get that old bike out, dust it off, pump up the tires, get a helmet, make sure you wear your helmet every time, and just get out there and try riding.
Okay, great. Well, we've gone from your tricycle days in New York to your bicycling days right now. And John, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show today. Thank you so very much talking about something that we all are familiar with, but I'm sure we all learned something new today about biking. But I appreciate you being on the show. Thank you so very much for watching.
Thank you. Thank you, Rhonda. I look forward to riding with you on your green bike.
Absolutely.